Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay, but this is a new technology, so we're all still getting used to things. Thanks very much for being here. I'm Professor Thomas White. I am founder and executive director of the International Business Ethics Case Competition. This is our 23rd event. We started in 1996 as a campus event at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and that grew over the years. In this past year, after LMU spun off its own event, we became an independent nonprofit, and we're back. Now, ideally, we had all been hoping to be in Boston this evening. It's a wonderful city. I'm in Western Massachusetts. I'm in Amherst, but Boston is one of my favorite places. So we'll just try again in the future. But really want to thank you for being here. So the plan for tonight is I just want to fairly quickly give everyone an overview of what's going to happen over the next couple of days, make sure everyone's on the same page, handle any questions if any of the teams have them, and then we move on to one of the most distinctive features of IBECC, which is our famous Moral Compass competition. First, though, I want to thank our partners. As I said, we spun off and set up as an independent nonprofit. We are very happy that we got, we attracted so many backers, so many sponsors. The Walton College of Business at the University of Arkansas is our presenting partner. The Northrop Grumman Corporation, our presenting sponsor. I should point out, Northrop has been with us since almost the very beginning, and we're very gratified that they continue to see us as a positive force in the world. The Abigail Adams Institute in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Center for Business Ethics at Seattle University, the Center for Business Ethics and Governance at St. Anselm College, the Sioka Center for Business Ethics and Society at the College of the Holy Cross, the Donahue Center for Business Ethics and Social Responsibility at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, ECI, the Ethics and Compliance Initiative, also one of our longer term partners, the Eisenberg School of Management at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, the Rowena Yarrick Scholarship Foundation, and the W. Michael Hoffman Center for Business Ethics at Bentley University. So we are deeply grateful for the generosity of our partners. This event would be impossible without them, and we look forward to many years of collaborating. Most importantly, I want to thank the students who are participating. Everyone knows these are difficult times. This is particularly difficult if you're trying to wrap up a semester and all of a sudden you're told, okay, it's not going to be the way you've been doing things forever. You have to go home or go to your dorm and just set up in front of a laptop. And so first of all, on our team, we want to recognize, just how difficult that is and express our appreciation for you hanging in. We initially were expecting about 25 teams from a number of different countries. Everyone ran into, many teams ran into a number of really serious problems. 10 teams are competing, which under the circumstances we are very happy with, and we are especially appreciative of just how the teams that are involved persisted. So I want you to know we recognize this was no easy task when you had everything else to do. So again, we just want to say thank you. First thing I want to do is quickly go over the schedule so that everyone's on the same page. And since practicing with the technology this is a skill. So the only way to get better at a skill is to try it. So I'm going to do share screen on my end and to go to the IBECC website, IBECC.net. So the schedule, we go here, IBECC 2020 schedule. And so tomorrow, 9 a.m. University of St. Thomas graduate, 10:45 Middle East Technical University, 11 University of Massachusetts at Amherst, noon Catholic University. Again, let me apologize to the Catholic University students for having confused their time earlier in the day. 12:30 University of St. Thomas undergrad, 1:45 p.m. Fayetteville State University. Our new team, we're going to give them a special welcome. 2 p.m. Mount Holyoke College, 2:45 Doral College Team 1, 3:45 the University of South Florida at St. Petersburg, 5 o'clock Doral College Team 2. On Friday, For the 10-minute and 90-second presentations, 10 a.m., the University of St. Thomas and Middle East Technical University, noon, Mount Holyoke Catholic University, UMass at Amherst, 2:45, Doral College, Fayetteville State, 4 p.m., Doral College 2, St. Thomas in South Florida. And we want now, first of all, tomorrow is when I'll send the links out and the invitations to all of you for Friday. For the Friday sessions, we're asking both teams, in this case, the 3 teams, all to log in at the same time. You'll do the 10-minute first, the 90-second second, so it's going to work better if everyone is showing up at the same time. So that's the schedule. Now, if you want to know a little something about your judges, this is another group we want to give special thanks to. These are the executives who are going to be judging the sessions. You can go back there to the judging roster and schedule page if you want and see who they are. And if you go down and you click at the bottom, you can see the actual schedule of who is assigned to your session. I was just able to get that up today, so check that and see if that's of any interest to you. Go back to the schedule. You already have been given information about what division you're in. For tomorrow, each session will be overseen by a person we call an Uber judge. And if you are curious about who our Uber judges are, you can just go to this tab and see those handsome, talented, good-looking people. And coming back here, there will be a senior judge, an Uber judge, and then 3 other individuals who will be judging. Format is, as you should know, you have about 25 minutes, 5-minute cushion after that to do your let me click this off. To do the main presentation. Then it's about 20 minutes of Q&A from the judges, and then you get feedback from the judges. Now we're asking the judges to, give me a minute, I got that chat in, I wanna make sure that's the rest of, okay, we're gonna pause for a minute because I just got a note that the rest of the teammates of the UMass folk are getting a please wait, the webinar will begin soon issue. Hold on just a moment. Let me check with one of my tech people, see if that's something we can resolve quickly. Michael, I'm putting you back in as a panelist. Michael, do you see, have a sense of what we could do to resolve that? Oh, they're all in. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like they're in. That was before you had started broadcasting.
Okay, so hold on. Let me make you go away again. Oops. Okay, we have that squared away. So as I said, we're asking the judges tomorrow to tailor their critique, their suggestions to what can help you on Friday, because on Friday it's just on ethical issues, it's no PowerPoint, no Q&A, so you have to be much more focused about that. And as I said, the invitations for Friday will be sent out tomorrow. I want to pause before we get to the moral compass vignettes and ask if anyone has a question. And what I'd ask is that either probably easiest way, I'm sure you're all comfortable with the chat function. If you have a question, use the chat function, type it in, and we'll take a minute to see if anyone has anything. Well, let's do this. We'll move on to the moral compass portion of the of the program. And then if anyone has any questions, we'll get back to that. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with our moral compass competition, it came from a concern that we weren't giving students enough of an opportunity to meet with other students from other teams, from other countries and the like. And part of that is because everyone is so focused on the competition, on doing the work, that there wasn't really time unless we programmed it. So what we decided to do as kind of an icebreaker and to get everyone warmed up is on the first night, Wednesday night, we have a general orientation session. And then when we do this in person, we say, okay, after we get through with the first part of the business, we say, go to a table where you don't know anyone. And then everyone goes around the table and shares some detail about themselves, which should be interesting, an unusual hobby, an interesting experience. And then the task of the group is to take those details, make a story out of them that has some kind of ethical dimension to it. So obviously we can't say go sit at a table with a bunch of other people. So what we did was to ask students to sign up, and then we assigned them to groups of 3 or 4, and we now have 6 groups that came up with interesting stories. So I'm going to call. Oh, first of all, before we do that, let me show you as in the process of this. Let me do this. Let me bring up. Let's see, who is, and then we'll go through the stories, and then okay, let's do this in a different order. I'm going to show you where the stories and where the voting is first. So, okay. Okay, so we're back at the website. IBECC 2020 Moral Compass Competition. Click here. This gives you links to the 6 stories that we have, and then there's a there's a voting sheet. What I'm going to ask you to do is you read through the stories, and then you vote. First choice, second choice, third choice. As this is an ethics competition, I assume we're going to, everybody, will vote only once. As far as I'm concerned, anyone connected with the competition, either students or faculty, can be involved in that. But this is where you'd go. And so let's start with Pitbull and Taylor. Now, I think Kaylee is here, I believe. And so how should we do that? Let's do this. Let's just bring Kaylee up. I thought Kaylee was here. Or is someone else doing that, the Pitbull and Taylor story? I thought that was. No, Tony Ann, I'm sorry. Tony Ann, are you? Let's go back to this. I appreciate everyone bearing with me. There we go. So I'm going to bring Tony Ann in.
Hello?
Tony Ann, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, do you have the story in front of you, or shall I put it up on the screen?
I have it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. After both having performed at a sold-out show together earlier in the day, Pitbull and Taylor Swift were having dinner to celebrate the release of Pitbull's recent law review. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Recent law review trademark article. Having seen the reviews online of the restaurant Spaghetti with Pesto, Taylor was excited to order. Taylor had known that she was allergic to tree nuts since she was a small child. growing up on her family's farm. Taylor ate a tree nut and would have died if it weren't for the heroic barking of her golden retriever, who she had since birth. Since then, Taylor has been very careful about her tree nut allergy, especially when dining out. When the waitress came to take their orders, Taylor made sure to ask whether there were tree nuts in the pesto. The waitress went back into the kitchen to double check with the restaurant owner. She then told Taylor she was safe to consume the dish and that there was no possibility of there being tree nuts in the pesto. Right as Taylor was telling Pitbull how much she missed being able to touch fans' hands at concerts due to the coronavirus outbreak, Taylor felt her throat begin to close. She immediately knew that there were indeed tree nuts in her dish, and she was rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, Taylor went into anaphylactic shock and required epinephrine. Unfortunately, the attending physician, who was too starstruck to concentrate on her job, administered the incorrect doses, causing additional harm to the international pop star. Ethicists often are forced to struggle with difficult questions of retributive and compensatory justice. In this case, we find ourselves with a difficult dilemma as to who to blame for this health crisis of a national treasure and voice of our generation. Who is responsible? The waitress, the restaurant owner, the pest supplier who forgot to disclose the existence of tree nuts in their dish, or the swiftly attending physician who slipped up and exaggerated the problem? Is it a combination of all of them? How should they each be punished? And how should they compensate Mrs. Swift?
Okay, excellent. Everybody sees on the screen, that's here we have the story here. And produced by Kaylee Koch, Jess Belanco, Ryan Caralla, and Tony Ann Ranking. All right, so that's story one. Okay, so now we're going to, let's see, bring up. Okay, Tony Ann, I'm going to move you to attendee. And I believe Maddie. Okay. Here we go. We're going to bring Maddie Morehouse now as panelist. Hey, Maddie, you have to unmute your audio.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There you go. Okay, now do you have the thing here? Why don't you, while you start, let me bring the story up so everybody can see it in all its glory as you're reading.
Great. Thank you.
So this is language. We're calling this one "Language at the Carnival."
Language at the Carnival. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Katie nervously begins a job at Malcolm's grandfather's carnival at 16 years old. Luis is hired around the same time as Katie. He was adopted soon after birth from a small town in the Dominican Republic. The carnival managers assume that he speaks Spanish, and this is a large reason of why he is hired. One day at the carnival, a Spanish-speaking family wants to order a meal, and Katie has trouble communicating with them. She asks her manager if there is someone who is able to communicate with the family. Her manager tells her to ask Luis. At the request of her manager, she goes to ask Luis. Malcolm hears this, knowing that Luis was adopted and doesn't speak Spanish, and he feels embarrassed. As Katie asks Luis to come speak to the family, Luis is confused until he comes to the realization that due to his appearance, his coworker has made wrongful assumptions about him. When Malcolm pulls Katie aside and tells her this after she's already asked Luis to come speak with the family, Katie's eyes welled with tears as she did not want Luis to think that she was making assumptions about him due to his appearance. Maddie sees Katie's reaction and is quick to help her know how to apologize to Luis for the assumptions that have been made. Maddie speaks fluent Spanish and jumps in to assist the Spanish-speaking family in ordering their food. The managers of the carnival witness this and are very confused. The managers ask Luis why he, knowing Spanish, didn't jump in to help serve the customers. Luis is offended and realizes that the managers themselves are the one who made the assumptions that he spoke Spanish. Frustrated with Luis, the managers call a meeting with him. They address that he doesn't speak Spanish, and he is shocked that they even thought he did in the first place. "What made you think I spoke Spanish?" Luis asked. The head manager replied, "Well, in your application, you wrote that you identified as Hispanic. If you didn't speak Spanish, you should have told us that in your interview." Luis, saddened to hear this, feels as though that he wouldn't have been hired if they had known the truth about his background. He says, "I was never asked about what languages I spoke. I was asked to circle my ethnicity on the application." Luis picks up on the fact that his managers are trying to justify their discrimination against him rather than owning up to it. After this realization, he knows that this is not the environment he wants to work in, and he storms out. The managers are disgruntled and don't care to apologize or chase after him in any way. The next day, the carnival is extremely busy with the 4th of July weekend. The managers realize they could use some extra hands and start reevaluating how they treated Luis. These feelings of regret are heightened when they receive an email from Luis's family lawyer. A litigation about discrimination at this time is not what they need. What action should the carnival take to ensure their hiring practices are based solely on ability?
Okay, as you see, these are the facts from the different people that are now woven into that story, and that's language at the carnival, number 2 on the ballot. All right, so thank you. And let me, okay, Maddie, you're gonna go back to being an attendee. And next is Tommy Colucci. I think. Or am I? Okay, so this is the bagels and the running one. Is there anyone that I thought, oh no, Tommy's here. Why am I not? Unless he had to leave. Here we go. Sorry about that, Tommy. Took a while.
Hi, that's fine. You found me.
Okay, so hold on. Let me bring the story up.
Okay.
And so we're calling this one Bagel Running.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So in my group, it was Caitlin, Ethan, and Desmond. Just background. So Caitlin owns a successful bagel company that often caters big events like state cross-country meets in her home state of Illinois. This year, the Illinois High School Association has asked Caitlin to make bagels for a breakfast spread meant for the athletes competing in the state finals located in Peoria, Illinois. Being a runner herself in high school, Caitlin understands that many athletes get extremely nervous on race day, especially before a big race such as state finals. In an effort to put the athletes at ease, Caitlin asks her friend Desmond to bring his guitar and play while the breakfast buffet is going on. Music always helped Caitlin before her races, so she thought the athletes might appreciate it. Before the athletes arrive for breakfast the morning before the race, Ethan, who happens to be staying at the same hotel with his family, since his brother is racing in the state finals, decides to go exploring. He comes across the bagel spread and can't resist. Picks up a few bagels and he begins to practice his juggling skills. Though he is very good at juggling, Desmond begins to practice for his breakfast performance, which startles Ethan and causes him to drop the bagels onto the floor. After looking around to make sure nobody saw, he puts the bagels back on the pile and quickly leaves the room. Desmond saw the bagels fall, but figured because of the 5-second rule, it didn't matter. Furthermore, he had no intention on having bagels. He continues to warm up. Ethan heads back to his family and tells his brother to avoid the bagels because they were on the floor and carries on with his morning. Ethan's brother tells the rest of his team that the bagels are contaminated, so they all avoid them. Thomas, who happens to be a returning all-state cross-country champion, looking for a repeat of his success last year, arrives at the breakfast room only a few moments later. Not knowing that the bagels have fallen on the floor, he grabs one and slathers peanut butter on it, his go-to pre-race snack. He grabs a few more bagels for his teammates and joins them at the table. Both Thomas and his running buddy eat a contaminated bagel. A half hour before race time, Thomas and his running buddy are very sick and cannot compete. Turns out that the floor had just been washed with a chemical that is toxic if ingested. Since the bagels weren't on the floor for that long, the boys won't suffer any long-term consequences, but they'll experience vomiting and digestive issues for a few hours. As a result, Ethan's brother and his team placed very well in the race, and they end up taking home the state title. Thomas and his running buddy cannot compete, so their team has to use their alternates, and thus they don't place as well as they might have. This results in no state titles, and Thomas, a senior, has no chance of reclaiming his all-state title for his second time. What are the ethical issues in this scenario? Who's responsible for them? How much responsibility does each guilty party share? And then we have the little ethics blurb at the bottom there.
Okay, well, go ahead, read your blurb.
Oh yeah, so I'll read that. In this scenario, Ethan and Desmond lack accountability as the responsible parties. It was unwise and unsanitary for Ethan to use food to practice juggling. Furthermore, when Ethan dropped the bagels, he should have known not to put them back. Throwing the food away would not have been best at that point, and even paying Caitlin for the lost bagels would have remedied the issue. Although there's a small cost to Ethan to pay for the bagels, the value of Tommy and his buddy's health are much greater. Desmond shares responsibility in Ethan's actions, but the weight should not fall completely on him. Desmond should know that the 5-second rule does not actually exist. It was up to Desmond to hold Ethan accountable for his actions, or at least find the bagels that fell and dispose of them properly. Desmond failed to do so, and the runners became sick because of his role as a bystander.
Okay, very good. So based drawing from 3 simple facts, being a runner, somebody else juggling, and somebody else playing the guitar, coming into a nice ethical issue there. Excellent. Okay, so that is Bagel Running, number 3 on the ballot. All right, we will now let Tommy get back to his life. And Theodosia is next, I believe. Okay, and Theodosia, I know you're here. Theodosia, here we go. Theodosia, I know you, I'm sorry, your name got cut off. Awadu, so panelist. Hey, Theodosia. You have to, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Hold on, let me
Okay.
bring the story up so everyone can see it. This one is being called The Pot versus the Glove.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The title of our story is The Pot versus the Glove. Robin is preparing for his next trip, looking at his laptop screen and trying to find some good airline flight deals. All the while, he's discussing his intentions with his best friend, Ruben, who grew up helping his parents with their business. After hearing what Robin planned, Ruben decided to take a break from work and tag along with his friend on a tour through Eurasia, going from east to west. While traveling through all of Asia, they decided to go to Japan, where they meet Theodosia, who has lived in Japan for 3 months on her own, without even being able to speak an ounce of Japanese. Theodosia is an amiable person and offers them a tour of the capital city, Tokyo. She also offers them a place to stay during their visit. After their adventurous escapades in Japan, Robin and Ruben were ready to travel to a new country. They decided to repay Theodosia's hospitality and generosity by including her in the remainder of their tour. Theodosia accepts their offer, and they all travel to France. With Robin's seasoned experience traveling solo via rail through Europe, he leads the pack to explore other countries on the continent. Finally, to round up their Europe tour, the 3 musketeers decide to visit Spain, specifically Madrid. Upon arriving in Madrid, they take a bus to Granada. On the bus, they run into Michael Marical, who embarks on this journey because he needs to see his uncle that lives in Granada. Robin, Ruben, and Theodosia introduce themselves to Michael, and a conversation ensues. Michael shows them his prized possessions, a bat and a glove, both signed by the pro baseball player Ichiro Suzuki. Robin remembers that he has not purchased a single souvenir to commemorate his trip to all of these beautiful places. He comes up with an ingenious plan, which he whispers to Ruben while Michael converses with Theodosia. With a smirk running across his face, Ruben reaches into his bag and pulls out the pot he has been using to prepare some of the native cuisines of the countries he had visited because he loves to teach himself how to cook. After years of working at his parents' shop, Reuben is now a slight businessman. So he fabricates a lie about the pot containing this special alloy that makes everything that is cooked in the pot simmer to perfection, which he shares with the group. Theodosia makes a face of bewilderment of such a thought, while Michael becomes engrossed in the description. By the end of Reuben's pitch, Michael is fixated with the pot and will do anything to get it. So he asks what he can trade for it. Reuben hesitantly says the glove signed by Ichiro Suzuki. Robin and Reuben discuss the storing of the glove in Reuben's shop because it will be mutually beneficial. The signed glove would help bolster foot traffic in Reuben's parents' sports shop, while Robin will have the opportunity to take home a valuable souvenir. Michael eagerly hands over the glove to Reuben, and Reuben gives the pot to Michael in exchange. Theodosia knew for sure that the story that Reuben and Robin had come up with was a lie, but decided to remain silent since she didn't want to break the harmony they had built during the trip. At the end of the trip to Granada, everyone went back to their normal lives. Theodosia kept thinking whether she should have told Michael the truth or not. If she told Michael, he would not forgive her for not telling him earlier. However, what Theodosia, Robin, and Reuben didn't know was that the signed glove they traded for the pot was fake.
Interesting. Okay, that's the pot and glove. And we will release Theodosia.
Thank you.
Back to attendee. And now this is, I guess, Faith and Verity, I think, are both here. So I think, well, Verity is here, and is Faith still here? And Faith is still here. So I think, Faith, you said you were going to do this, so we'll start here. Okay, unmute your sound.
Yeah, there we go.
And let me bring the story up. So we're just calling this one Travel or Traveling. Go ahead.
All right, so once upon a time, there were 3 girls who met at an IBECC case competition. Their names were Faith Brown, Verity Pond, and Jennifer Merton. After a long conversation, the girls come to realize they all have a shared love of traveling. Soon they find themselves planning a fun trip, but where would they go? Remembering her favorite time studying abroad, Faith suggests they should go to Italy. The girls love the idea of traveling abroad and eating unlimited amounts of pasta, so they decide that they should all meet up at the DFW International Airport. Before embarking on their trip to the airport, the girls notice the absence of available flights and start to second guess their method of travel and destination. They also realize they do not have visas, and their uncertainty grows. Upon further research into flights to Italy, Jennifer notices many warnings about the public health and safety throughout the national pandemic. The girls debate whether getting on the flight would be worth it if it meant catching the coronavirus or spreading it. They converse over whether being in close quarters on the plane would be too much of a risk. They could catch the disease and get sick, and even if they would be okay, they might spread the disease to others. They eventually decide that traveling by plane to one of the hotspots in Italy wasn't the best idea. Verity then offers to bring the girl to Florida, where she lives. Thinking this sounded like a wonderful plan B, Jennifer decided to shift her focus to looking at national flights instead. Again, they ran into the problem of many COVID-19 travel warnings. In the end, the girls decide to go by car. They thought a road trip could have fun benefits. Jennifer, Faith, and Verity drive to a central meeting point and then head to Florida so they can go to Verity's house. After many hours in the car singing their favorite songs and planning what they will do once they get to the beach, Jennifer begins to get hungry. Verity, also getting hungry, agrees and pulls the car to the next gas station. Faith and Verity run inside the convenience store to pick up everyone's favorite road trip snacks. Verity chooses barbecue Lay's, Faith Chex Mix, and Jennifer Pringles. As Faith and Verity are checking out with their purchases, the cashier sneezes into his hand. Wary of the spread of germs, Faith and Verity quickly take their purchases back to the car, where they have a few Clorox wipes. However, Jennifer had used some of the wipes to clean off the gas station pump, so there were only enough wipes left to clean 2 of the bags. How were the girls to decide which snacks they should save? Each girl had picked out their favorites, and none of them wanted to give them up. Faith and Verity both agree that Pringles Jennifer's favorite should go because it was their least favorite of the three and in a cardboard packaging that could hold the coronavirus for a longer period of time. Verity also argues that she needs her snack because she is driving and could use the energy. Jennifer didn't understand why the girls were discriminating against her snack when it was her idea to get the snacks in the first place. Faith didn't even say she was hungry. After talking it through, they eventually came to the agreement that because the snack was in a different packaging didn't mean it was any less important, and split a Clorox wipe in half so everyone was able to still get their snack. With everyone happy and full, the girls continue on their journey to Florida. When they reach the state line, however, the girls are stopped by Border Patrol. The Florida officers inform the girls that only Florida residents are allowed to pass. Verity tells them she's a resident because she moved here from Seattle a few years ago, but Faith and Jennifer are not. The officers let them know that they are not letting in non-Floridians because they want to reduce the spread of COVID-19 among the population. Verity tries again and asks if her friends would be allowed through this one time, as they promise to only stay at her house. However, the officers will not allow entry, further telling the travelers that most beaches are closed anyway. Stuck with the dilemma of either sneaking into Florida behind the officer's back or wasting the time spent in the car, the girls ultimately decide to avoid jail time and come up with Plan C. They initially contemplate traveling to Seattle. Verity had told them about all the fun things to do and great places to eat in the area, and it sounded like so much fun. But should they travel now with everything going on? Faith is tired of driving already, and Seattle is going to be a really long way from the border of Florida. Jennifer is excited to enjoy Seattle's food culture, but as the first hot zone of the coronavirus pandemic, Seattle's non-essential businesses are closed. Verity is especially concerned for the friends and other people in her prior home and doesn't want to interfere with curve flattening that has already started to occur there. Again, their travel plans are thwarted and they decide on a Plan D. Jennifer suggests the girls go to Mount Washington for a hike since it was one of Jennifer's favorite pastimes, and she thought the girls would love it too. Faith is skeptical about the long drive and raises concerns about whether it would be safe for her friends to travel near a hotspot like Boston to get to New Hampshire. Faith and Verity are also really concerned about the potential the travelers have to spread the virus if they were carriers. Jennifer really wants her friends to experience the beauty of Mount Washington summit, and she's a big fan of the New Hampshire motto, live free or die. She argues that as long as they take appropriate precautions like wearing masks and gloves and social distancing, they would be fine to travel. Plus, they will be outside, so the tents won't expose, or they will be outside camping in tents, so they won't expose other people at hotels. Besides, shouldn't they be able to move freely throughout the country? After all, liberty and justice are fundamental protections on which the country was founded. Faith and Verity are not convinced. Should personal liberty be protected at the expense of someone else's health? What if they got hurt on a trail as they hiked up or got caught on in one of Mount Washington's notoriously dangerous storms? So should search and rescue teams have to risk not only the elements but the potential for COVID-19 infection as well? What if they can't summit the hike all the way down in one day? Could they find the appropriate tent sites since huts on the mountains are closed? Is it safe to hike without the normal network of fellow hikers, AMC staff, facilities, and rangers? What about Plan E? Faith and Verity convinced Jennifer that any travel would violate the values they all share. The friends discuss how important it is to protect both their own health and that of other people in the community. It is especially important to make sure that you are not placing any undue burdens on overworked health and protection systems. A plan to safely return to work will be necessary at some point going forward, but travel for fun without the ability to self-quarantine upon arrival for 14 days just does not seem to be justified, especially not to the hotspots or remote locations that don't have the ability to handle your emergency. Safety is important to all three of them, and not just their own. Their friends weigh up the costs and benefits and decide that those calculations don't support a trip now either. Any way you look at it, the trip these three wanted to take was not an ethical choice at this time. Deeply disappointed by the conclusion that they had reached, the girls decided to stay home until it was safe to travel. Maybe Faith, Verity, and Jennifer could meet up via Zoom and share their stories and pictures of the places they love. It's not the same as if they got to visit, but it's as close as they feel they can get. Should they plan a truly epic road trip once this crisis has passed? Did they make the right choices? What would you decide to do?
Okay, very interesting. Travel in the age of global pandemic. All right. And so now we let Faith go back. And we have one final story. Okay. Justin Sanchez. Hey, Justin.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay, let me bring the story up. Which you're calling Juggling Sharks.
All right. So, Avery, an adventurous spirit, has been eager to explore the world ever since she could remember. After visiting a variety of cities and European countries, she couldn't help but admire the world around her and felt inspired to continue exploring. She had heard more about the extensive and supposedly beautiful wildlife in South Africa and set her mind on a new exploration. One of her friends, Lorado, is from South Africa and asked if she could accompany her to the area, to which Lorado happily agreed. When traveling through South Africa, Avery is taken aback by the sheer beauty of the area, Cape Town. It is their first time in the mother city, and the two hope to explore the city. Avery is interested in learning about biodiversity and sea life, while Lorado hopes to explore the local fish market. The two begin to travel down towards Boulder's Beach to better understand their different interests. As they walk along the beach, they see someone who seems to be rather interested in the shark population of Cape Town. His name is Justin. As Avery and Lorado watch Justin from afar, they realize Justin holds a much more intense passion. Avery notices that the law enforcement is pushing Justin away from the shoreline. As law enforcement pushes him one last time, Justin lays down in the sand, defeated. Avery can't help but ask what is wrong and what's happening. She asks Justin, to which he responds with nothing but fury and passion. "I will do it," he exclaims. "I will follow in my father's footsteps, the great shark slayer, and bring honor to my family's name." Watching from afar, Hannah sees the events unfold. She's taken her juggling act on the road, performing in different cities and different countries. And this is her first time juggling in Cape Town. She has a small crowd gathered around her. Intrigued by what is happening with the law enforcement, she leaves her post and joins Avery and Lorado as they question Justin. Avery and Hannah only speak English, so Lorado translates what the officer that pushed Justin away says. She speaks many languages fluently, so she translates his conversation with ease. The officer says that Justin is trying to go into the water to find a shark in hopes of carrying on his father's legacy as a shark slayer. Justin explains, "My father fought a shark as he traveled from Cuba to America, and he has become a legendary and honored figure. I came to Cape Town because I heard of the great white shark here. I want to continue his legacy." The officer explains that it is dangerous and he cannot allow Justin to go into the water for his own safety. Hannah is confused. Says, "Are there other problems to consider here as well? What about the sharks?" He wants to go out there and slay a shark. But the great whites here are a vulnerable species, close to endangerment. Avery joins in. Yeah, why should Justin's desire to carry on his father's legacy be more important than the sharks themselves? The ethical question is it morally right or wrong for Justin to attempt to continue his family's legacy? Should animals or people be placed above the other in terms of value? Are they equal?
Okay, interesting. We crossed the line into animal ethics and different species. And so that's story number 6, Juggling Sharks. As I pointed out, go to the moral competition page. You've got the scoring sheet and you pick your top 3. Okay, thank you, Justin. Let's let you go back. Now, if we were in Boston, you'd all be enjoying a huge round of applause, cheers, and people would be throwing money and honors at you. But alas, all you get is our digital praise. But it was a very interesting job. Thanks very much. So just want to pause for a minute just to see if anyone has any questions. If anything has come up, why don't you, I think the chat function is probably the simplest way while anyone is typing anything in. And when you do that, you can either just type it to all panelists or just to me. Just a reminder that everything starts tomorrow morning. We went over the schedule. You know the drill. Everybody should have a separate invitation into the presentation. If you're an attendee and just watching, you go in through that link. which requires initial registration. I will be sending out the invitations for the presentations on Friday tomorrow. If at any point there's an issue with your getting in, by all means, send me an email, send me a text. You all have my number. And we now have, okay, there's a couple of questions. So from Tim Mazer, who is one of our judges, is there a plan for tomorrow and Friday if a technical problem occurs during a presentation? Will the 25-minute clock stop while the problem is addressed? Yes, the clock will stop. The plan is that the most important thing is for everybody to have good tech throughout the presentation. That's more important than trying to sort of, just push through it when it's not what you want. So the plan is, if there's a technical problem, and we've been rehearsing this with Michael and Ravi and Liam, the three tech people. We've been rehearsing all kinds of things this week. We think we've pretty much anticipated any kind of problem that could come up that's not catastrophic. In that case, the host, Ravi or Liam or Michael, they're designated the host. They have control over the technology. They'll stop things and try to fix that, and that will not count against anyone. Everybody realizes this is a new and difficult situation. Everybody gets all kinds of consideration and elbow room. Okay, Elizabeth has asked, will we get feedback after we complete our 10-minute and 90-second presentations? Yes. Thanks for asking that. The way this will work is that the 10-minute and the 90-second competitions are separate ones. There's a 25-minute competition, the 10 and 90-second. Those are all separate competitions, and winner and runners-up in each division. There'll be winners and runner-up in each division. On Friday, we're asking the judges that are there to give feedback. On Thursday to give you feedback. On Friday, there will be 2 Uber judges there during your session, and you'll get feedback from both of them. However, one of them is responsible for determining the results of the 10-minute. One of them is responsible for determining the results of the 90-second. But you will get feedback from both of those. Okay, and I'm not seeing anything else come up. So thank you again. If you have any problems, by all means, contact us. Our job is to make this a positive experience for everybody. And we certainly don't want the technology to get in the way. If you have anything that comes up, you can either contact me, contact the tech people, and our job is to make it possible for you to get through this and enjoyably. Okay, the next time we will all get together is next Monday. Now, normally at IBECC, on Friday we have the 10-minute and 90-second. Friday evening we have a nice dinner and then give out awards. Because we're working with this new format, it seemed to me that it was pushing it a bit to think that we could have all of the results calculated by Friday night. So we decided to kind of take it easy and announce the awards and show you what, at least on paper, what the awards are going to be for each division on Monday. So I will see everybody. I will actually see everybody at the beginning of each session just to thank the judges, and otherwise I'll see everybody on next Monday. Please remember to register for that. That's also hasn't gone out yet, but that registration link will be up on the IBECC schedule page. Thank you again, and everybody have a good evening. See you most of you tomorrow.